The first idea I want to share with you is the concept of acknowledgement. Now, for me, acknowledgement is the absolute bedrock of my own resilience, but it has been quite hard to learn. However, it is the first step of a process in finding the solution when I've been sideswiped or something unwanted has happened, both on and off the water. The idea is really, really simple. When the unexpected, the unwanted happens, you have to accept and acknowledge your new position and your new circumstances before you can make a plan to move forward. And the reason I think it's important is because we when something bad happens, I certainly use a lot of emotional and mental energy wishing it hadn't happened, wishing I could be somewhere else, I could be in better circumstances, wishing I hadn't done something wrong or the weather hadn't changed or something hadn't broken. But we can't go back in time. We have to acknowledge our new position before we can move forwards from it and before we can put things right. Now, to just illustrate that view, I'm going to share a story from my 2020 round the world race. So I've been racing for 2 months solid. I was already absolutely exhausted, but I was having the race of my life. Pushing the boat really hard, starting to make my way through the fleet and exceeding my own sporting expectations as well as those who were watching. I just sailed through Point Nemo in the Southern Ocean, which is the most remote place on the planet. At times it's closer to the International Space Station than it is to a continental landmass. I was doing a deck walk and I realised that one of the rudders, the 2 rudders steering my boat, had a massive crack in it and was about to break. This is a video I made just after that discovery.
It's not good news on Medallia today, this afternoon. See here, got my sails down and I'm waddling along because about 2 hours ago, just in a routine check of the boat, I discovered that the port rudder stock was cracked and I'm not far off losing the rudder from the port side. I've got a spare rudder and I've been working with Joff to make a plan on how and when I can fit that. The deciding factor on that is going to be sea state. You can see I've still got quite a lot of residual swell behind me from the big breeze last night, and then I don't know if you can see these clouds here, so that's another 30 knotter that's coming through tonight.
I think you can see from the video clip that I was really upset, but also dealing with this huge amount of emotions coming from every direction, and taking up a huge amount of mental and emotional energy. I had to change a rudder in one of the world's most remote, hostile environments, a process which I'd actually only practiced once in a sheltered marina with the help of 6 people. So trying to work out how I should do that, when I should do it, if my judgment was good enough to decide when was safe to do it, if my strength was enough, if my competence was enough to get it right. I was scared that things might go wrong, but also scared that this might mean the end of my race, that I wouldn't be able to change the rudder and I would have to go back to the shore, and that would be the end of a race that I had spent 30 years of my life building up to. But also, I had been doing very well in the race. I was competing against much newer boats, much more experienced sailors, much bigger budgets, and yet I was over halfway up the fleet, and I knew the moment I stopped sailing to go into recovery mode, I knew that the 4 boats behind me, immediately behind me, would catch me up within a couple of days and overtake me. And I just didn't want that to happen. And even looking at the video now, it still sometimes kind of brings tears to my eyes because I remember all of that raw emotion. But the one thing that was for sure was I couldn't undo it. I could not make this unhappen. I just had to acknowledge the fact it had happened. I had to look around me. I had to look at my circumstances. I had to work out what the things I needed to do in the next moments were to stay safe, to fix the problem, and then get racing again. I couldn't change it. I had to acknowledge it, and I had to move on.
I'm devastated, but these things happen. It's happened, and I can't change that. All I can do is find a solution, sort it out, and then start racing again when I'm ready and come back at it again. And I've had these things happen to me before, and there's always something to come back for, and there's always something to come back at.
Acknowledgement isn't about pretending things didn't happen. It's about accepting the circumstances you found yourself in. Of course, it's still important to reflect on why problems happened and to learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen again. But for me, I need to be really careful that I don't waste energy wishing things were different, thinking about a path that I'm no longer able to take, or trying to fathom the unfathomable. Especially when you are depleted and you're feeling a little bit broken, you need to make sure that all of your energy goes into moving forwards positively. And the first step is always to acknowledge where you are and move forwards from there under your new circumstances. Now, for me in the Southern Ocean, my race paused when I changed that rudder. After it was done, I restarted 1,000 miles from Cape Horn with a new rudder in place, a whole raft of problems that occurred from the rudder change, but with a determination that I still had a third of the globe to catch up and sail my best race. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the role of preparation and how that boosts and maintains my resilience, both for my boat and my mind and my body.